Okay, Cincinnati Bengals draft review here, draft recap. Some very fascinating selections here. They take a big swing with their first round picks, so let's just get into it. First, just so you know what you're looking at on the chart next to me, the first number is where the player was picked, then it is the player name, the player position, and finally where they ranked on the consensus big board. You see Shemar Stewart, that is the big gamble, who the stat that you've probably heard already if you're a Bengals fan or just a fan of the draft in general is the only 1.5 sacks each of the past 3 years. So that's, 4.5 sacks in the past 3 years total. That is a very low number. Now, I think part of Shemar Stewart, it's just a weird body type for one thing. He's bigger for an edge, but not quite big enough to be an interior guy. So what are you doing there? He is legitimately a really physically impressive player. Like, the physical attributes he has are very impressive, but he is very much a project, and I don't know if I would expect him to be great year one. I think that would be unfair expectations. I think he should be a good run defender year one. Like, his run defense is legitimately good, and I think that you should at least be able to have an improvement that way. I think the concern you have if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan is the defense was so bad last year. The offense was so good, and they still weren't able to make the playoffs. I think that the concern that you have is, are you getting a player who's going to take a couple years or maybe even never figures it out? And if you are, now your defense will not be improving in a massive way due to what you got in the draft. Maybe there's, the free agency moves and the, anything else could help out the defense. But this could be, ultimately, the defense could only marginally get better if Stewart doesn't work out, and there is a bigger risk factor with him. That is the downside. The upside is if he does reach his potential, well, now you could have a potential elite level player. So that's why maybe you would consider something like this. So yeah, it is interesting. But Demetrius Knight is the next pick, who, on paper should be a pretty good player. Was a really good linebacker last year for South Carolina. He's, a 245 guy, but he moves really well for 245. Physical player and plays with anticipation, understands how coverage works, all of that stuff. My only real critique from the IQ stuff, the football IQ stuff, is sometimes he'll take some bad angles in the run defense game, but still was a very good run defender. Doesn't worry me too much. Here's what does worry me. This guy's a 25-year-old prospect. He is an older prospect through and through, and with that age, you have to wonder how much of him being good lately has been due to just him being in college for a while and kind of having it all figured out. There is less of a developmental expectation with Knight. There is still going to be a transition to the NFL, so you have to develop him to some degree, but ultimately, if he's not good year one, when will he be good is kind of the question. But ultimately, at pick 49, again, was projected to go 83, but they want a linebacker to help them out. And at the very least, he should be someone who should help out the defense, right? How much will he help? Well, that remains to be seen, but he should be a help. They then decided to select Dylan Fairchild, who was, again, projected to go later in the draft. In fact, all but one of their picks was projected to go later than the Bengals took that player. So, again, doesn't mean everything, but usually you like to be on the other side of that if you can. Fairchild seems to be a interior guy who I'm assuming is going to be a backup that they hope they can groom into a starter at some point. Was pretty good actually as a pass protecting guard, which if I'm Cincinnati, that's what I want, is guys who can pass protect. I care more about that than run blocking, given Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, right? It should be okay at that. So could use some more consistencies in the run blocking game, and if he does sit for a year, you can help coach that up. So I kind of like this pick, actually, by the Bengals. They then selected Barrett Carter with pick number 119, so getting another off-ball linebacker here, someone who was very good run defender last year with Clemson, has been for a couple of years. He is someone who is a bit of a smaller player. He's not going to overpower you too much. 6'1", 230. That's not like, outlier small, but he's a smaller player. So you definitely wonder, is he someone who has to be more of a situational player as opposed to an every down player? And that will remain to be seen. They then got offensive lineman Jalen Rivers, who should be, I think, again, another just depth piece here. And unlike Fairchild, who I think the plan is to have him be a starter, hopefully, eventually, Rivers is someone who probably is just going to be a backup regardless. Someone who, if you have injuries, well, at least now you're not having to sign someone off the streets and figure something out. You should at least be okay here. And hey, offensive line depth matters. So these picks are never the sexiest, but they can, you really feel good about a pick like this when an injury happens and you don't look horrible, and you really wish you made a pick like this when an injury happens and you do look horrible. Finally, their sixth pick, again, only 6 picks here. Their last pick was Tahaj Brooks, who is a player that, from Texas Tech, who, I think that you look at him and say, is he an elite level player? Is he an elite athlete? Not really. Did have a lot of production, though, at Texas Tech. Wasn't a very effective player. Was a very big part of their offense. And so I think that's kind of what's good about him. Again, this late in the draft, you wonder if there's some special teams benefits here, but I don't think they need him to be a special teams guy. Again, had over 1,500 rushing yards each of the past 2 years with Texas Tech. So again, is he going to be a star player right away with his athleticism? I wouldn't bank on that. But is he someone who could come in and be a depth running back who can also help out in the special teams and then maybe has potential to be more than that? Absolutely. That is absolutely what he can do. So, yeah, I like that pick as well. So, not every pick I'm a crazy fan of with the Bengals. Personally, I just wasn't a Shemar Stewart fan, although I think there's people that hate him more than me. I think there are some good traits with him, and we'll see if it works out. But ultimately, these are a lot of really interesting picks. And again, taking a big gamble, they need the defense to get better. They kind of need some of these picks to hit. But hopefully, if they do hit, they could have a much better defense. And just as a fan of football, I want this to hit because I like watching Joe Burrow in the playoffs. That would be good, I think. So let's make that happen again. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.